Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to IAS Origin. This is Anubhav Deepani, your faculty at IAS Origin. So as we all know that your UPSC Civil Services Examination Prelims is very near now, and it is there on 16th of June, and we are very close to our UPSC Prelims examination. First of all, let us basically understand a very important and simple fact here that whenever people start studying about their UPSC prelims examination, they actually do all the stuff which is necessary, like revision, completing all the modules, schedules, etc. But there is one thing in which they are always basically not able to reach their goal, and that is solving the previous year question papers. Please understand this point. Whenever we say that if we have to clear the UPSC prelims examination, for example, it is there in the month of June this year. So your core responsibility should have been that you must have completed your complete syllabus by the month of February, and in the month of March, April, May, and half of the June, you should have basically given many test series, which I am basically very sure about that you might have given the test series. But when you give the test series also, there is only one problem with that, that we do not basically analyze the previous year question paper. Now, believe it or not, the PYQs of UPSC repeat itself. There is a basically misconception that UPSC does not repeat itself in the future or in present, but that's a kind of a misconception. UPSC always repeats itself because the content which has UPSC with it, or the syllabus which has been decided by the UPSC, that syllabus is also kind of very definite. Please try to understand this. For example, if you are reading polity with the help of Lakshmikant book, okay, now Lakshmikant is basically a limited book. There will be a limit of the content of Lakshmikant, and there will be a limit of UPSC also asking the questions of polity. And the same thing goes with the other subjects also, whether it is ancient history, medieval history, modern Indian history, art and culture, geography, economy, environment and ecology, science and technology, etc. So today, IAS Origin is here with you to make you understand that how you can basically approach previous year question paper. Here there is PDF in front of you, in which IAS Origin will be providing you the previous year question paper of last 25 years. Now, in these kind of PYQs, we would be basically taking a different approach. Whenever it is being told to you that you have to study PYQs, what students usually do is they just read the question and they just see the correct answer and they just move to other question. That is completely wrong. Please try to understand how you have to study PYQ. If there is a question in front of you, let's say there is a question in front of you of any polity of union, executive, and parliament. So there is a question in front of you, and there are basically four options in front of you. Out of four options, one option is correct and three options are incorrect. So you have to study the reason that why that correct option is correct and why the incorrect option is incorrect. Only then you would able to understand the trend of UPSC, and only then you would be able to understand that what is the mentality of UPSC while asking the question. Because we have seen in many occasions that UPSC basically repeats the next year question from the previous year's wrong option. Now here basically there is a table in front of you in which IAS Origin and the content team has basically categorized the PYQs of polity of last 25 years. Here you can see the table of content includes the constitutional development, introduction to union, territories, and citizenship. Besides that, you will see each and every topic which is categorized in front of you, and you basically see the promotion of international peace, economic justice, fundamental rights, law of liberty, right to privacy, etc. All the major topics which are there in polity, they have been basically categorized topic wise and also year wise. Now for example, it is there in front of you in the table of content, union, executive, and parliament. Now you see we have basically started from 2020, and then you basically see the same topic questions have been basically asked in UPSC in 2018 also, then in 2017 also, then in 2016, and you see a basically detailed content here. The index only basically keeps or categorizes at least 10 to 12 major topics here. Here you can see basically the state government and the different topics like judiciary. The index itself is near about 10 to 12 pages. So what we would be basically doing in this IAS Origin series, that we would be taking a particular subject, we would be solving the PYQs of last 25 years, not just of one subject, but of different subjects also, like polity, geography, economy, environment and ecology, art and culture, ancient, medieval history, modern Indian history. So it is basically going to help you a lot. Like, for example, you can see the eighth major topic as local government also, and other topics also. So today, what we are going to do is we would be basically selecting a particular topic. Like for today, we would be selecting union executive and parliament, and we would be solving the PYQs of last 25 years, and that is going to help you a lot, because you will basically see that many questions which has been already asked by UPSC in the previous year question papers, they will be basically repeated in front of you. Now let's start this particular session without wasting any time. Okay, so here we will basically start with the fourth major topic according to the index of this PDF. And the very first topic which you see here is the union, executive, and parliament. Okay, union, executive, and parliament. Now let us take the 2020 question. Okay, this was a question asked in UPSC in 2020, and it was, consider the following statement. Now here are basically statements in front of you here. The first statement is, the President of India can summon the session of parliament at such a place as she thinks fit. Number two is, the Constitution of India provides for 3 sessions of the parliament in a year, but it is not mandatory to conduct all the 3 sessions. And number three is, there is no minimum number of days that the parliament is required to meet in a year. Now, above all these statements, which are correct? And the correct option is option number C, that is 1 and 3. Now, you please go for 1 and 3 option and try to understand why this particular statements are correct, and then we will basically see the explanation of these statements again. Now you see statement number 1 is here, that says that the President of India can summon the session of parliament at such a place as he or she thinks fit. It is absolutely correct, because the summon power, that is calling the session of the parliament, this particular power is there with the President of India only. Now you basically see the third statement. This third statement is also very correct, that there is no minimum number of days that the parliament is required to meet in a year. Now we all know that there are basically 3 sessions in the parliament. Number 1 is the budget session, which is also known as the summer session. Then there is monsoon session, and then there is winter session. So there are 3 sessions. Okay, now in which of the session, how many days parliament will work, or how many days parliament will sit to work, that minimum number is not written anywhere. It is not written in the Constitution. You can basically also understand this third statement as a correct statement with the help of the current affairs also. Last year, in the month of November or December, there was basically a parliamentary report by the Parliamentary Analyzing or Statement Committee, that the parliament is not sitting enough days to work. If you basically compare the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha of 1951 and 2024, you will basically see a very huge difference, because in our very first, second or third Lok Sabha, parliament used to sit a lot. They basically used to sit 80 to 90% days of a particular session, which has been decreased today as only 30 to 40%. So statement 1 and 3 are completely correct here. Now, what basically goes wrong with statement number 2? Now, statement number 2 basically asking you is, the Constitution of India provides for 3 sessions in the parliament in a year, but it is not mandatory to conduct all the 3 sessions. See, the problem with this particular statement is, the statement which is given might be correct also and might be incorrect also, but this particular information is not given in the Constitution. Neither it is basically given in any kind of parliamentary resolution. So this is the problem with statement number 2, that it is actually not written somewhere, guys. Now, if you basically see the explanation here, you just go to article number 85, clause 1. Now, article number 85, clause 1 basically tells you that the president shall summon each house of the parliament to meet at such time and he thinks fit. So, because of this, article number 85, clause 1, statement 1 is completely correct. Now you see basically here that the parliament can meet for at least 3 sessions in a year. Now I have already told you that there are basically 3 sessions. That is the budget session, monsoon session, and winter session, as you can see here. And again, it is written here that it is not mandatory to conduct all the session. But you need to remember one thing: the maximum gap between the 2 sessions can only be 6 months. The gap between the 2 sessions cannot exceed for more than 6 months. If it is exceeding for more than 6 months, the president and it will basically summon the parliament that you should basically now sit and work in the parliament. So that's why this particular question tells one and statement number 3 are exactly the correct. Now, let us come with a very interesting question. It was again asked in 2020 only that Rajya Sabha has equal power with the Lok Sabha. See, we all know that the legislature of central government includes the Rajya Sabha also and the Lok Sabha also. Now, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, both of them come together and they basically make laws. But in many of the situations, Lok Sabha is more superior than Rajya Sabha. In many of the situations, Rajya Sabha is superior than Lok Sabha. In many of the situations, both of the houses are exactly equal. So, in this particular question, it is being asked to you that in which of the situation Rajya Sabha has equal power with Lok Sabha. Now let us go with this. Now number 1 is the matter creating of all India services. Now this statement is exactly correct, properly correct. Why? Because in this particular scenario, Rajya Sabha is a superior. Rajya Sabha is not equal to the Lok Sabha. Why? Because whenever there is a situation that we have to create a new All India services, so we know that All India services comes under article number 112 and only Rajya Sabha has the power to create All India services. Now Rajya Sabha has the power to create All India services under which article? It has the power to create All India services under article number 249. So here in this situation, in the first statement, Rajya Sabha is not equal to Lok Sabha, but Rajya Sabha is superior to Lok Sabha. Now let us go for the second statement. Now second statement is amending the constitution. Now this is basically a correct statement because whenever we go for the constitution amendment bill, we actually talk about article number 368. And under article number 368, what we see that whether we are passing the constitution amendment bill under article 368 clause 1 with simple majority or under article 368 clause 2 with special majority or under article 368 clause 3 with special majority and consent of the half of the states. So in this particular second statement, Rajya Sabha has the equal power with particular Lok Sabha. So here in this second statement is exactly correct and the solution is B here. But now let us also see the third and fourth statement with that why they are incorrect. Now the removal of the government. Now removal of the government basically tells you about no confidence motion. Now this no confidence motion is only and only passed in Lok Sabha. It is not passed in Rajya Sabha because the majority of the Lok Sabha decides the government. Majority or minority of the Rajya Sabha does not have any relation with the forming of the government. That's why statement number 3 is also correct because in the removal of the government, Rajya Sabha does not have any kind of role. Now you see here option number D, making cut motion. Now making cut motion is also the power of Lok Sabha only because making cut motion is the power which comes under article number 112 and 116 which tells us about the passing of the union budget. Now, whenever the union budget is passed or the annual financial statement is passed, this union budget or annual financial statement is actually considered as money bill only. Now, if we have studied money bill, if you have studied money bill, we all know that money bill comes under article number 109 and 110. And in money bill, Rajya Sabha does not have any power. Only and only Lok Sabha has the power, and Lok Sabha passes the money bill with simple majority. Now, if the annual financial statement is treated as money bill and the cut motions are under the union financial statement or annual budget, so if it is just the same case as the money bill, so obviously in the cut motion also Rajya Sabha will not be having any kind of power. Only and only Lok Sabha will be having the power. That's why your statement D is also incorrect, and only statement B is correct here. Now let us look at the explanation here. Okay. Now here you can basically see that Rajya Sabha has the equal power in which of the scenario. Now this is actually very, very important. Now this is what I was basically talking about, that whenever you basically study the PYQs, you just do not have to understand the correct statement. You also have to go for the incorrect statements also, because these incorrect statements will give you the idea of upcoming questions of UPSC prelims. Now you see here where Rajya Sabha has the equal powers with Lok Sabha. Number one, passing of ordinary bill, because in passing of the ordinary bill, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has equal power, because there is also a provision of joint sitting. Now in constitution amendment bill, this statement was basically your statement number 2, which was basically correct here. Now passing of financial bill and expenditure from consolidated fund of India, and then election and impeachment of the president, election and removal of the president, then giving recommendation to the president of India, ordinance approval by the president of India. These are basically some of the points here where Rajya Sabha has the equal power with Lok Sabha. Is everyone clear? Right? So this is very, very important here. Please understand this part. Now, here you can basically see there is one more explanation which is very, very important for you, and that is the Rajya Sabha has 4 exclusive or special power, where Rajya Sabha is superior than Lok Sabha. Now, number 1 is it can authorize the parliament to make a law on the subject of state list. Now, when the question comes to the center-state relation, see, we all know that under the 7th schedule of Indian Constitution, there are 3 lists. There is union list, there is state list, and there is concurrent list. Now, the subjects which come under the union list, on those subjects, central government is basically authorized to make the law. Now, there is a state list also. The subjects which come under a state list, state government is authorized to make laws on that particular state list. But according to article number 249, Rajya Sabha has this particular special power that Rajya Sabha can give the authority to the Lok Sabha to make any law on the state list. Now, this power comes to Rajya Sabha under article number 249. Now, we also discussed article number 312, All India Services. So, whenever a new All India Services will be created in the Parliament of India, the initiative will be taken by the Rajya Sabha with the special majority. And after that, Lok Sabha will basically clarify or will pass the bill with simple majority. So, in this particular article number 312, All India Services, Rajya Sabha has the a special power. Now, removal of the vice president also, here Rajya Sabha has the equal power. And here in the emergency scenario or financial emergency, there are basically many things which are basically given to Rajya Sabha as the equal power. Okay, so these are the kind of things which you need to understand, that whenever you are studying any kind of PYQ, you need to understand one particular thing here, that you do not just have to read or understand the correct statements, but you also have to go for the explanation of the incorrect statement also. Now, there is one more question which was asked in UPSC back in 2018. There are basically 3 statements given to us here, and we have to see which statement is basically correct here. Number 1, in the first Lok Sabha, the single largest party in the opposition was Swatantra Party. No, this is completely incorrect. Why? Because the largest opposition party was Communist Party of India. As we all know that the majority party was the Indian National Congress only because Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of India in the very first Lok Sabha of 1951, and Congress won the majority under the leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. But the majority party, which was having the largest, which was basically known as the largest opposition party, that was not um, the Swatantra Party, but it was basically the Communist Party of India. Now, as we go for the second statement here, in the Lok Sabha, a leader of the opposition was recognized for the first time in 1969. 100% it is completely correct. Because the leader of opposition concept or leader of opposition term, you will not see in parliament before 1969. It was introduced in the year 1969. And how will you basically decide that any political party would be having the opposition leader or not? You will basically decide in the way that if any political party has got minimum 10% of the total seats of Lok Sabha. Now you see the total seats of Lok Sabha is 543. Now you see the 10% of 543 is 54.3. Now you can basically take it as 55 only. Okay, so if you have the 10% of the total seats of Lok Sabha, then you can basically say that you can have a opposition leader. That's why this statement number 3 is also incorrect here. Because in the Lok Sabha, if a party does not have a minimum of 75 members, it is written, its leader cannot be recognized as leader of opposition. So this statement is completely incorrect here. Why it is incorrect? Because if you have 543 members, so the 10% of 543 will be 54.3 or approximately 55. It cannot be 75. That's why this particular third statement is also incorrect. And what is the correct statement which you have here is solution number B. That is the second statement only. Fair enough. Now let us go for the explanation of this particular this statements. Okay. Now here you can see Congress Party won 364 seats out of 489 seats in the first Lok Sabha, and Communist Party of India was the largest party here with 16 seats here. Now here you can again see the definition of leader of opposition here, that the largest opposition party having not less than 1/10 seats. Now 1/10 seats is obviously the 10% only. So there is no question of asking anything related to 75 seats. It is just and just 10%. Fair enough. So this is the way you basically need to understand the scenario. Now here you can see there is one more question in front of you in which you can revise the whole particular chapter of the parliamentary committees itself. There was one more question in the year 2018 that with reference to the Parliament of India, which of the following parliamentary committee scrutinizes and report to the House whether the power to make regulations, sub-rules, rules, bylaws, etc. conferred by the Constitution or delegated by Parliament are being properly exercised by executive within the scope of such delegation. So these are basically the functions given in the Constitution and in the question, and it is asked in the question that the functions which are given here, they are basically performed by which of the committee, and the correct statement is Committee on the Subordinate Legislation. That is your option number B. Now the explanation is very, very important here, guys, because you need to understand that which committee does which of the function. That is very, very important. Now please understand the functions here very properly. Let us study about the Committee on Government Assurance. Now, Committee on Government Assurance does what? It checks the assurance, promises and undertaking given by the minister on the floor of the House, and in the Lok Sabha it consists only 15 members, and in the Rajya Sabha it consists only 10 members. And when this committee of government assurance was constituted, it was established in the year 1953. Now, you please understand this thing, that if you are solving the previous year question paper, it is not just revising your questions and concept, but it is actually giving or providing you the revision of polity in detail. This is not just the video which you have to just listen and forget. You also have to make the notes of these things. Now you can just pause the video here. Okay, if you are watching live, very good. If you will be basically watching the recorded lecture, you can just pause the video and you can note it down all the functions of the committee, because this is going to be very, very important, not just for your prelims, but for your mains examination also. Okay. Now, if you see here, there is one more committee here, that is Committee on Subordinate Legislation. It examines whether the power to make regulation, rules, sub-rules, bylaws delegated by the parliament to the executive and being properly exercised by it. It also consists of 15 members, and it was also again established and constituted in the year 1953 only. Now, if you basically go for one more committee, which is very, very important here, don't take these committees explanation very lightly, guys. This is very, very important. You need to make notes of each and every point here. Okay. Now, if you go for the rules committee, it considers the matters of procedure and conduct of business in the house. Okay, so whatever the procedures are going in the house, whatever the conduct of business will be there in the house, what is the protocol, what is the chronology of each and everything, which amendment will be basically passed by the rules of the house, etc., etc. These rules are basically made by the rules committee. That's why the name of the committee is rules committee. Okay, now here the Lok Sabha consists of again 15 members, and the speaker will be the ex officio chairman. Ex officio chairman in the sense, automatically the speaker of the Lok Sabha will become the chairman of the rules committee. Okay, and Rajya Sabha committee of this rule committee consists of 16 members, where the chairman of the Rajya Sabha will become the ex officio chairman. That means the vice president of India will be the chairman of the rule committee. That is the presiding officer. Now, if you basically go for the business advisory committee, okay, so it regulates the program and timetable of the house. Okay, it tells you the program and timetables of the house, that on which day, on which time, on which date, what is going to happen. That means it basically gives an advanced timetable to the member of parliament, that you have to be prepared for the next day proceeding and next day things. And again, how many members will be there in the Lok Sabha of this committee? There will be basically 15 members here, and in the Rajya Sabha it will be 11 members. And again, who will be the chairman? The presiding officers of the respective house will be the chairman here. Okay, so we are not basically discussing each and every question here, because if you will basically see in the last 25 years question paper, there will be basically more than 500 questions or 300 questions of polity of just one subject. So we will not be basically able to discuss each and every question here. But the most important questions which will be there important for this 2024 prelims, we would be discussing those questions especially. Okay. Now, as we are basically studying all these PYQs through these particular PDF, and now if you basically say that we want this PDF also, so we would basically make this PDF available for you. But for that, what you have to do is you have to basically contact to the IAS Origin official number, and that is 788000909. Okay, you basically contact on this number and you say that you are the subscriber of IAS Origin and you basically follow this channel for your preparation, and you want the PDF of PYQ of polity in which the live session was basically going on. So what you have to do is you just have to inform the person, the mentor who will be basically receiving your call, and this particular PDF will be provided to you. Okay, so this is the way you can get the PDF, and not just the PDF of polity, but the PDF of many other subjects also. Now, let us come to the next question. This is another question which was again asked in 2018 again. And now it says that with reference to the election of President of India, consider the following statement. Okay. Now, as we all know that how the election of the president is done. Okay. So the election of the president related question was there in 2018, and the statement number one was the value of the vote of each MLA varies from state to state. Now, vote value is what? Vote value is that a particular MLA is basically representing how many people there, and there is basically special formula also of there, which you might have basically studied in Lakshmikant. Okay. Now, the second is the value of the vote of MPs of the Lok Sabha is more than the value of the MPs of the Rajya Sabha. Now we know that the elected members of parliament and elected members of parliament of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, they basically both vote in the president election. Now here it is asking that does the vote value of MPs of Lok Sabha is higher than the vote value of the MP of Rajya Sabha. Now you have to basically see here that which statement is correct. Statement number one is correct, or only two is correct, or both one and two, or neither of the statement is correct. So in which what you see is that only statement number one is correct. What is statement number one, which you basically saw here? The vote value scenario related to the MLA. Now, obviously, that the vote value scenario of the MLA will be very, very different. Now, because you see now that if you go to Uttar Pradesh, okay, the population of Uttar Pradesh is near about 25 crores. And how many MLAs are there? 403 MLAs are there. Now you basically go to Madhya Pradesh. Now the approx population of Madhya Pradesh is around 10 crores according to 2024. And how many MLAs are there? 230 MLAs are there. So the population and MLA numbers are very, very different in each and every state. So the vote value of each and every MLA also will be very, very different. That's why we see that the MLA vote value is different in each and every state and each and every state legislative assembly. But if we see the same thing in that statement number two, we see that the member of a parliament have the same vote value. There is no discrimination between the member of parliament of Lok Sabha and between the member of parliament of Rajya Sabha. So here you will see that only statement number one is correct. Okay. Now let us go to this particular scenario. Here you can basically see the procedure of election of the president in detail here, guys. This is basically the benefit of this particular PDF, that you are not just solving the PYQs, but you are also studying each and everything in detail things. Okay. Now let us see here. What is the procedure of the election of President of India? Here we see the president is elected not directly by the people, but by the member of the electoral college. Now there are basically two types of elections in India. We all know that number one is the direct election. In the direct election, people are basically elected directly by the people. Like for example, Lok Sabha elections or Vidhan Sabha elections or Panchayat elections or municipality elections. So in these elections, people basically vote directly for the candidate. But in the indirect election, people do not vote. The legislators vote. That is the member of parliament and MLA. Okay. Okay. Now here, which people or who exactly vote in the president election? Please see this. See, the member of elected members of both of the house of the parliament, that is elected members of Lok Sabha also and elected members of Rajya Sabha also. This is the first category of people which vote. Now the second category is of elected MLAs of each and every state. Now there are 28 states in India. In all the 28 states, there are legislative assemblies. If there are legislative assemblies, there will be elected MLAs also. So all the elected MLAs of all the state legislative assemblies will be giving the vote. Now if you see the third category people, the elected MLAs of Union Territory of Delhi and Puducherry, and now you can basically add one more here, that is Jammu and Kashmir. They also basically vote here because Jammu and Kashmir is now Union Territory. Now please understand two things here, very important. Okay. if you are basically being asked in your particular examination that Delhi and Puducherry elected MLAs were given the power to vote in the president election, when they were basically given the power, they were given the power to 70th Constitution Amendment 1992. This is very, very important, guys. According to the 70th Constitution Amendment 1992, Delhi and Puducherry elected MLAs were given the power to vote in the president election. Before 1992, Puducherry and Delhi MLAs did not used to basically give the vote in the president election. Now, if you are being asked the same question related to Jammu and Kashmir, now Jammu and Kashmir was basically giving the vote for the president election way back in 1950s also. But before 2019, Jammu and Kashmir elected MLAs were giving the vote in the president election in the name of the state. But in the year 2019, there was Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act, under which Jammu and Kashmir was converted into a union territory and Ladakh was separated from Jammu and Kashmir in the name of union territory. So now if you are asked in your 2024 prelims or after the prelims of 2024, that is 2025, 26, 27, etc., etc. If you are being asked that Jammu Kashmir elected MLAs give vote in the president election, according to which law? So you will say Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. This would be basically the correct answer for your particular question. Fair enough. Now, this is basically the scenario here. Now, here is the definition of the vote value. Also, the explanation is given here. As you can basically read that the value of the vote, every elected member of the Legislative Assembly of a state shall have as many votes as there are multiple of 1000 to the question obtained by dividing by the population of the total number of the elected members of the assembly. That means total population divided by total MLAs. It will basically come out as the vote value. And same goes with the definition of vote value of a member of parliament also. So this is the definition of vote value too. Fair enough. So these were basically the question of 2018. Now you see here there is one more question in 2018, again related to the union executive and parliament and etc. things. Now there are some of the statements again given in 2018 question, and we have to find out that which of the statement is correct here. Like for example, here it is written, number one is the speaker of the legislative assembly shall vacate his or her office if she ceases to be a member of the assembly. Now statement one is like a member, a speaker of the legislative assembly is also the member of the legislative assembly. Fair enough. So if a person is the speaker of the legislative assembly and also the member of the legislative assembly, and if that person loses the seat of the member of legislative assembly, that means an MLA is disqualified. And if the same MLA is the speaker of the legislative assembly, so the person should leave the post of speaker also or not. Now the next is, whenever the legislative assembly is dissolved, the speaker shall vacate his or her office immediately. Which of the statement is correct here in front of you? Statement number one or statement number two? Which of the it is correct? Now you see here that the statement number one is exactly correct here. Statement number two is incorrect. Now please understand why it is so. Please understand the concept very carefully here. See, now let's say that I am the speaker of Madhya Pradesh Legislative Assembly. Okay, that means I am also the MLA of Madhya Pradesh Legislative Assembly. Fair enough. Okay, I am also the MLA of Madhya Pradesh Legislative Assembly. So I actually became the Speaker of Legislative Assembly of Madhya Pradesh because I was elected as an MLA. If I was not elected as an MLA, I would have never become the Speaker of Legislative Assembly of Madhya Pradesh. And the same concept is followed as the post of the Speaker of Lok Sabha also. Right now, like when this particular Lok Sabha was not dissolved, Om Birla was the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Now, why Om Birla was qualified to become the Speaker of Lok Sabha? Because Om Birla was also the Member of Parliament of Lok Sabha from a Lok Sabha constituency of Kot, that is in Rajasthan. Now, if any member becomes the Speaker of Assembly or Lok Sabha. So that particular member is basically qualified to become the presiding officer because that member was the MLA or MP also. If you are disqualified from the post of MP or MLA, you have to vacate the post of speaker also. This is number one. Now here you see statement number two. Statement number two is incorrect and statement number one is correct. Now, why statement number two is incorrect here, guys? Statement number two is incorrect here because whenever the Lok Sabha or Vidhan Sabha, that is the Legislative Assembly, is dissolved, each and every member of the House resigns. Each and every member of the House resigns. But the Speaker does not resign. Why? Because if the Speaker fights the election again, if the Speaker fights the next election again, and the Speaker wins the election, so he will become the pro tem Speaker in the next Assembly or Lok Sabha sitting. And after that, the permanent Speaker will be elected. So please remember, whenever the Legislative Assembly is dissolved or whenever the Parliament is dissolved, the presiding officer, that is the Speaker, does not resign. Rest all members resign. And how we basically consider that the assembly or the Lok Sabha is dissolved? We consider with the fact that whenever the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers and the Chief Minister and State Council of Ministers, they basically resign altogether. In that particular scenario, we see that the Lok Sabha or Vidhan Sabha is completely dissolved. But in that particular scenario also, the presiding officer does not resign. Okay. Now, there was one more question. Again in 2018, guys. Again in 2018, related to the same topic, Union Executive and Parliament. And it says that if the President of India, now which of the statement is correct here? Okay. If the President of India exercises his power under Article 356. Now, under Article 356 is President rule, obviously, okay, of the Constitution in the respect of a particular state. Then what happens here? Then, number one, the assembly of the state is automatically dissolved. No, the assembly is not dissolved. Whenever there is president rule in your state under Article number 356, the assembly can be suspended. The assembly will not be dissolved. Please understand, because when the president rule will be removed, the decision will be taken on this later on that the assembly will be dissolved or not. Okay. Now you see under the president rule, article number 19 is suspended. No, article number 19 is not suspended. President rule does not have any effect on fundamental rights, guys. Please understand this. There is only one emergency which has the effect on the fundamental right. That is article number 352. That is the national emergency. And whenever you are implementing article number 352, that is the national emergency. Under this article number 352, the fundamental rights are suspended. You can basically note this particular thing as notable point. The fundamental rights are suspended under two different articles, that is article number 358 and article number 359. Please remember this point. Article number 352 is the national emergency. Whenever the national emergency is implemented, it does not affect the fundamental rights. Whenever the national emergency is implemented, it does affect the fundamental rights. And under article number 352, fundamental rights are suspended under article 358 and under article 359. But whenever there is article number 356 implemented, that is the president rule is implemented, the fundamental rights are not affected. They are not affected. Please remember this. Okay. Now here the second statement says the power of the legislature of that state shall be exercisable by under the authority of the parliament. Obviously, whenever the precedent rule is basically implemented, all the particular power goes to the president of India or indirectly to the parliament of India. That's why here you see that at statement number B is completely correct here. Okay, now let us go for this particular explanation of the incorrect statement also. Okay, now you need to understand this particular scenario here very, very carefully, that whenever you ask about article number 356 president rule, as I have basically already told you, it is also known as state emergency and constitutional emergency. Now don't be confused between article number 355 and 356. Article number 355 is again the emergency. It is that the article number 355 says that it is the duty of the central government to protect the state government from any kind of internal armed rebellion or external aggression. Like, for example, you can basically see the current affairs scenario of Manipur. There was basically kind of very violent protest among the tribes of Kuki, Naga, and Metis in Manipur related to the reservation of the tribals and all. Okay. So here, there was basically extreme violence among the tribals here. Okay, so because of that particular extreme violence among the tribals, because the state police and the state government of Manipur was not able to handle that particular armed rebellion, that's why the Central Home Ministry implemented article number 355 to Manipur. Because article 355 tells us, you can basically write down the definition here also of article number 355, that tells us that it is the responsibility, it is the responsibility of central government to protect any Indian state of internal or external aggression. This is what article number 355 tells us. Fair enough. Now let us move forward here. Okay. Now here you can basically see the complete explanation of President rule. To see the complete explanation of President rule, I would also suggest you one more thing, that you can basically go to the videos of IAS Origin. You will basically see a complete playlist of all the subjects and individual topic, that is of polity, world history, Indian society, governance, internal security, geography, etc. And there you will see the complete explanation of President rule, that is article number 356 also, article number 352 also, and article number 360 also. So the explanation is given in much more detail in the another video of IAS Origin. So do watch that particular video for that. Fair enough. Now there is one more question related to the same topic again in 2017. In 2017, it was asked in the UPSC exam that which of the following are not necessarily the consequences of proclamation of the president rule in the state. Now here you see that the question is kind of repeated indirectly. The same topic question was there in 2017 also, the president rule, and the same type of question was there in the 2018, very next year, president rule. Okay. Now please here see that what are basically the necessarily consequences for the proclamation of president rule. Dissolution of the state legislative assembly, removal of the council of minister in the state, and dissolution of the local body. So it is just statement number 1 and statement number 3, that when the proclamation is there, dissolution of the state legislative assembly will be there and dissolution of the local bodies will be there. Now, again, I would tell you the same thing. If you need to understand this particular topic of article number 356, please go to the IAS Origin video playlist, and we have explained that thing in very much of detailed there. Okay. Okay. Now let us go to the next important question, which we can basically find here is your again 2017 question, which you can see here is, and that is with reference to the Parliament of India. Consider the following statement. Okay, the statement number one is a private member's bill is a bill presented by a member of Parliament who is not elected but only nominated by the President of India. Please understand this point. Private member bill in the sense the bill which is basically presented in the parliament by just a normal member of parliament. See, there are two types of member of parliament. A member of parliament who is having the ministry, he is known as the minister. And the member of parliament who is not having the ministry, that means he or she is just the member of parliament without any ministry or without any portfolio. That person is basically known as private member. So if that particular private member presents any bill, so that is basically known as the private member bill. So in this particular statement, it is being asked that the private member bill is a bill presented by a member of parliament who is not elected but only nominated by the President of India. No, this statement is completely incorrect, because if you are elected also and if you are not the minister, even then you will be basically known as the member of parliament. Like, let's say if I basically contest the election of Lok Sabha and I win the election, but I was not given the minister portfolio, even then I will be known as member of parliament. Oh, private member. So if I present the bill, even then I will be, that bill will be known as private member bill. So there is no problem with that. Now let's go to the statement number 2 that says that recently a private member's bill has been passed in the Parliament of India for the first time in its history. No, it has been there in the time period of 1950s and 60s. So both these statements are incorrect. That's why we see that solution number D is correct here. Fair enough? Okay, guys. So let us see any other question here then. Now, this is a kind of a theoretical question if you see. Okay, you might have basically noticed many kind of conceptual and factual concept here, but here you would basically see a kind of a theoretical question which was there in the year 2017 again. Okay, now this question is actually less of polity and constitution, but this question is more of political theories if you understand. Okay, the main advantage of the parliamentary form of government is, what is the main advantage? Statement number one, the executive and the legislative work independently. Okay, no problem. Let's go to the other statement. That is, it provides continuity of the policy and more efficient. Okay, sometimes may or may not be. Statement number C, the executive remains responsible for the legislature. Yes, this is exactly correct. The executives are always responsible for the legislature. Like, for example, who are the central executives? If I basically ask you, who are the central or who are the union executives here? So you will say, sir, the Prime Minister of India, sir, the Council of Ministers of India, President of India, Vice President of India, Attorney General of India, etc. Now here you focus on the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers most. So the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers are not just the executive of our country, but they are also the legislature of our country. Because right now, if Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of our country, so Narendra Modi is not just the Prime Minister, he is also the elected member of Parliament from the Lok Sabha constituency of Banaras, Uttar Pradesh. So he is also the legislature. So here with the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, whenever they will be taking a decision, whenever they will be implementing any kind of policy, and any kind of question will be basically asked to them in the Parliament or in any of the house, it is binding on them to give the answer to the opposition leader. That's why they are basically responsible to the legislature. This statement is trying to tell you that particular thing. Okay. And here it is again, the head of the government cannot be changed without election. No, this is completely wrong. The head of the government can be changed. Like, for example, 2024 Lok Sabha elections are going on. Let's say Modi ji again becomes the Prime Minister of India in the year 2024. And in 2026, Narendra Modi tells Mota Bhai, Amit Shah, that I am basically tired of politics, but now I want to basically quit politics. I don't want to be a Prime Minister of India anymore. But the next election is in the year 2029. So the Prime Minister of India basically can tell the majority of the member of parliament to choose any other person as the leader of the house. And that particular person will become the leader of the house. That is, that person will become the Prime Minister of India before the 2029 election. Okay. So here it is basically, this statement is completely incorrect. And your statement number C is actually correct here. So these are basically the benefits of basically what? These are the benefits of studying actually the PYQs here, guys. Because if you basically study PYQ like this, you will be basically able to understand the trend of the UPSC also, and you will be able to get to know that what kind of questions UPSC basically asks. Fair enough. So this is the benefit. Now, please just let me